you ready? Let's go.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Sports Dad. You already know what time it is. It is Thursday, and I like to call it Friday Eve, and we are here, and we made it through another week. And so I'm super excited about tonight and the shows to come. We got some things lined up for you today, and we're gonna really dive into it. We're gonna talk about a lot, of course, though. But before we go there, make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you are new. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and share. We appreciate all the love. You know, we're trying to get to 500 subscribers, of course, and we definitely can't do that without you. So make sure that you subscribe to the actual channel. Yeah, and so that's how we're doing it. That's how we're doing it this year, starting off the new year, 2021. Happy New Year to everybody. I say it again, Happy New Year to everyone. Never thought, it just seemed like since the pandemic hit, 2020 was just going by so slow, but I'm glad that we made it through. Some of us had some ups and some downs. Some of us lost some loved ones, but we are still here and we are making it happen and we are making it popping tonight. And tonight we're still continuing our journey on the recruiting process, talking a little bit about that, breaking things down and just making it happen. If you got questions or comments or anything like that, just make sure that you put that information into the chat, of course, and we'll take it from there. We'll basically research and get you the information that you need. If you have questions, or if you have ideas on topics that you want us to cover, let me know, and I'll get right on it. Because at the end of the day, we're working for you, and try to get as much recruiting information out there as possible. You may not have need of the information, but you may have a family member or a friend that has a young athlete or whatnot, or a parent that is concerned about their child's future. And especially, because of the pandemic and things like that, and COVID, it definitely changed up a lot. And, we're definitely going to talk a little bit. We're definitely going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to jump right into it. But before we do, I got a few updates for you, and we're going to come right back after these updates. So stay right there. Don't you go nowhere. What's up, everybody? It's Sportsnet with your breaking news. Well, if you think you got game and you think you should be on the recruiting radar, this announcement is for you. On January 18th, Sound Mind Sound Body is hosting the Detroit Movement. Get exposure and get verified. On January the 18th, Monday, on Martin Luther King Day, at the Total Sports Complex in Wixom, Michigan. From grade level 6th through 8th grade for middle school and high school 9th through 12th grade. You do not want to miss this. This is a great opportunity for you to get verified. Registration information is on the Sound Mind Sound Body Twitter page, so make sure that you go and follow. Also, Rising Stars Academy is also hosting some trainings this coming Friday and Sunday. Make sure you go to the Rising Stars Twitter page to get more information and to get registered. That's it for me with your latest news. Don't forget to tap in on next Thursday. We're taking a spin on things and we're going to jump into the academic portion of recruiting. That's right. We're going to jump into the academic portion of recruiting. And I have a host of guests that's going to be coming on talking about the academics and how important it is to make sure that you align yourself up originally from the start to the finish in regards to your academics. You do not want to miss this. Okay. Back to the live session. So hopefully you tuned in and hopefully you enjoyed that particular update. But a few things that I wanted to hit on. Number one, you talked about the Sound Mind Sound Body event that's happening on January 18th, which is awesome. Listen, like I said, because of the pandemic, the recruiting has changed a little bit. Well, it changed a lot in the area of football. You had coaches were able to meet with players and, things like that, come out to the school and see them and come out to the camps. Well, we didn't have any camps and things like that because of the pandemic, because of COVID. So it changed up everything. So now what you have to do is you have to take it just a little bit further and take recruiting into your own hands. And so, with that being said, you got to keep an eye out, especially with the organizations such as Sound Mind, Sound Body, and what they're doing is pretty cool. And so, make sure that you check out that event. At that event, it's going to be, combine testing and all that good stuff. And so, and it's an opportunity for you to get verified. If you say that you one of the best and things like that, now it's time to, to put it to the test, to come out there and see what you're actually really made of. And let's see if you can make it happen. It's a wonderful connect. There will be some media there, of course, some of the major media channels that's going to be there. And also too, we're doing this obviously to get the attention of the college coaches. And if you know anything about Sound Mind, Sound Body, they are definitely highly connected. And also too, if you can't, I highly recommend that you go to their to the Twitter page to get more information. Also, don't forget about Rising Stars, who's working out every Sunday. Make sure you go to their Twitter page and check out their information as well. So speaking of recruiting, I thought it would be, we don't have a guest this week, but we kind of do have a guest this week. So I was going back through my videos and I thought like, man, in these videos, we really have some really good caliber, some really good caliber people that were giving out some major nuggets. And so I thought it would be advantageous just to stop a little bit and let's just dissect the video and see what we can actually pull from it, from football and basketball. So why don't we're going to go ahead and start with football. I interviewed my guy, Coach Ken Kareem. I interviewed Coach Ken Kareem, and this guy was definitely instrumental. He has a son actually that played for the Cincinnati Bengals, and this is his son right now is actually in the NFL. He played for Notre Dame, so he's definitely doing his thing right. So this guy definitely knows what he's talking about. So let's take a look and see what we can pull from this particular interview. Let's take a look at it.
So recruiting, y'all have helped a number of kids, but more importantly, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's easy to say I've helped a number of kids, but what I try to do, if nothing else, is I try to help parents. Because I'm a coach, and I'm also a dad, probably a dad. At first, when I'm saying this, right. So I'm a father and then a coach. The reason why I made sure I, emphasize that is because I have a son, obviously, as you know, that played, that was recruited, and is actually playing now for the University of Notre Dame. He started defensive end for Notre Dame. He's actually the player of the game when we played Michigan. What's his name? Khalid Kareem. Yeah. But what I went through with him had nothing to do with me being a coach. Oh, okay. And that's why I wanted to make sure I emphasize that. And I would tell any parent, and that's probably more important than you tell it than you saying I help kids. Yes, I have helped a number of kids, and I can drop a bunch of names of guys that's even playing in the league right now, but a bunch of guys in college. But more importantly, I help the parents. So it's a number of parents, from single moms to dads that just don't know this, maybe removed. Dads that play, dads that just don't know enough about the game, don't know enough about recruiting, don't know enough about the next step. What do I do now? Right. And those are the guys that I help more than anything. And it's not that I have some type of service or call me, I'll help you. It's just been by default. Guys seen us going through, right, and maybe just reached out or refer somebody to me. Hey, I got a guy on the phone. Can you tell him what to do with his son? And have a few minutes for me. And I've always been willing to share knowledge because I got a lot of knowledge from just following people, asking questions, trying to figure out what was the next step. Right. Because it can be because the recruiting process can be pretty daunting, man. Especially from a parent and from a player, especially if you haven't been through it before, right? Oh, absolutely, man. It can be very daunting. I didn't go through it. I didn't play something like my son. I didn't play ball like my son. He's obviously a lot bigger than me, so he was recruited by probably every school in the country. You know, you'll see on different sites. He had this many offers or that many offers. He ended up turning down some offers because he wouldn't go on that business. So the offer list is way shorter than the actual schools that was recruiting. Right. And the reason why I emphasize that is we got out there, put our name out there, did the things that we needed to do so that people would know who he was, so people would recruit him. So people would not only recruit him, but start recruiting this area. So some of the coaches that I was talking to didn't know who Chippewa Valley was, didn't know who West Bloomfield High School was. They didn't know where some of these schools, like, who is that? You know, they knew a couple of schools, like they knew like King, Harrison, you know, when it came to the county, they knew Harrison High School, you know, they knew, you know, the schools that was kind of, I don't know, nationally known, I guess the best way I can put it. Right. So you got a kid at Chippewa, a kid at Farmington High School, that's also in Farmington Hills. Some of these coaches did not know that. A lot of them did, but a lot of them didn't. Right. So what I made an emphasis is when a coach would come, because I have relationships with so many kids, right, I would say, hey, I know you're coming to see Khaled, but you also need to go over there and see this kid. He's right down the street. Oh, wow. Kid, he goes to Farmington, he goes to North, or, you know, and a lot of us collaborated like that, guys that was getting recruited. Dave Reese, for his.
So that's pretty interesting, and I like what he was saying right there. Is that, you know, as a parent, you know, and as a coach too, you know, a lot of the coaches that he was talking to did not know basically, you know, they weren't in the know with where all the schools was. So in essence, it is possible that there was some talent that could have been missed out on because they didn't know the popular schools in Michigan, such as your Cass, such as your King, and things like that. So, but what I like what he said here is that, so when he would get in contact with the coach, he would let the coaches know, like, hey, you know, not only do I want you to look at, you know, my kid or whatever, you know, but also look at this kid over here, go look at this kid over here, because, you know, he's doing this and he's doing that. And so I like that. And as parents, as coaches, we have to be able to share. And I kind of alluded to this on last week, you know, the parent's responsibility. If you have a relationship with the coach that's recruiting your kid, then, you know, and if you know another player that's just as good as your kid that's not being recruited, and he should be, there's nothing wrong with mentioning that to the coach. It's just basically, you know, sharing at this point, and they may not know, and because it's a lot of talent. And so I like that he was doing that. And I think that we need to see more of that in the recruiting industry, not just, you know, looking for it from your coach, but there should be a brotherhood within the actual coaches saying like, hey, how's recruiting going for your school? You know, how's recruiting going for your guys? Well, I need a little push. Can you help me with your contacts or whatnot? You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we're all working for, all trying to put our kids in a better position, you know, from a coaching perspective and parents. So don't be afraid to develop that relationship and also refer as well. Let's listen a little bit more.
Example, I'm talking about the father, right? Plays for Florida, right? But the father, he was awesome. I learned a lot from him, and we actually fed off each other. So if a coach was coming to town, right, call each other, hey, you know, such and such is coming to Harrison today. You might want to reach out to that coach. Wow. We'll come down to Farmington. You know, we would do that all the time. Wow. And when the coach was in town, we would also say, hey, did you go see those twins over at Chippewa? Did you go see those? Who is it? You know, right down there. So you feed and help each other. You open up the recruiting for the state of Michigan. And if you look now, I think the recruiting in the state of Michigan is probably bigger than it ever was. Wow, in my opinion. Yeah, you may have some guys that have different opinions or act like they did this or they did that, and I'm not taking all the credit because there's a lot of guys before us. Right. What we did was we learned from the guys that was before us. Okay. You know, we saw what those guys was doing, and we took some of that, added it to our recipe. You know, and then took it a step further, and we just hope that some guys will take what we did and add to it and take it even further.
Right. Wow, man. So you guys were basically just looking out for each other, you know, because you realize you know how daunting the process can be and how hard it can be. So it sounds like you were just looking out for people, man.
I mean, that's the name of the game. Like, at some point, Khalid had 30, 40 offers or whatever. You know, that to me, that's almost too many, but that's enough. Like, you know what schools
Right.
you want to go to at this point.
Right.
Now it's time to help another kid.
Right.
You know, so, you know, I'll give you a perfect example. When I offered my son, they was also looking at another kid at Harrison. And when they were talking to me on the phone, we were at home. They were talking to me on the phone. They were also asking me about that kid.
Oh, wow.
So I'm telling them about that. Oh, yeah, this kid is amazing. And I've seen him play. I know his family. So we all helped each other. That was kind of the name of the game. And as I was going through it, I also did something intentionally. It was initially started as
So
for our family, for my grandma, my mom.
So let's just stop right there, and I think that's just enough right there for me to, for us to hear from this guy, because I think it was super awesome, just for him to. I think it was super awesome just for him to just to be in a position to refer, like I talked about earlier, and so. One of the things he said was too, in that, if you listen to it, he said, my kid had like 30, 40 offers. He was just like, so, he was like, that's enough. Now it's time to help another kid. How many of us can say that? You know what I'm saying? Like, some of these guys going around, they have like, 10, 15, 20 offers. And it's just like, okay, he only can go to one school, right? And so let's help somebody else. Let's put somebody else on. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't understand why we don't see more of that. And I think that we should. I think we should change the game and work on a referral process. You know what I'm saying? Not a referral process, but just refer. If you got a kid that got like 30, a bunch of offers, and other kids, it's time to help somebody else, right? Because they only can go to one school. And so same thing with the coaches, and that's what I like about what he was saying. So if we could take anything away from that, that's what I would take away. Now, let's shift to basketball. Let's shift to basketball real quick. As you know, I interviewed a guy by the name of Rashad Phillips. Rashad Phillips was, awesome. Actually, he was probably one of the best basketball players I've ever witnessed. And he was good. And now, he analyzes the NBA and college players and things like that. But he came onto the show and we talked. We had a nice conversation, and we talked about, development, and how he was able to capitalize on becoming so great and becoming so good, and how he set himself apart. And so we kind of got into that conversation. So I think this is a good opportunity for us to tune in and see what we could pull away from him from a basketball perspective. Let's take a listen.
So let's talk about that, before we jump into the recruiting stuff, because I got you for a little bit. How did you develop like that as a player, man?
I think it started at a very early age for me.
Okay.
Growing up in a household where my father was so sports oriented. I started out with baseball. I was a lot of people don't know this, but I was a really, really, really good football player.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was a 3-sport athlete growing up. 7, 8, 9 years old, I was a 3-sport athlete. So I think it kind of just started there.
Okay.
And, playing multiple sports kind of gave me the coordination to be able to run, have quick twitch, hand-eye coordination, accuracy. I was able to mix all of those sports in together, and ultimately the love for the game of basketball kind of took shape over baseball and football.
Right.
So I've always had the gift to mimic other players that I would see on TV. So I would mimic Isaiah Thomas for the Detroit Pistons. I would mimic Chris Webber in high school. I would mimic Chris Jackson at LSU. I would mimic Michael Jordan. So it just became to the point where I was so good at mimicking and then adding my own flavor to my game and just repetition over and over. And that's kind of how it kind of, and you got to see a little bit of that product against Osborne.
Man, that's crazy.
So one of the things that I'm taking away from a basketball perspective, the dude said is, you know, oh, I had a nice tan, by the way. Look at the difference. I'm light now. Look at that. But one thing I like what he was saying was he said that he could mimic really good. And he said he took it back and he mastered it. He can mimic it really good. And he took things back and he mastered it. So he just basically copied off of players that he saw that was in the NBA and just mastered what they were doing. And so that is good, right? A lot of times we try to master, you know, now mind you, a lot of times people try to master these things, but don't really have good fundamentals and a good foundation. So what I would highly recommend before you try to master anything, or mimic a player, make sure that you are really, really solid in the fundamentals. Make sure you're really solid in the fundamentals. Make sure you're almost like an expert with the fundamentals, because that is your foundation. If you don't have a good foundation, then you can learn to move. That's great. But what about when that move doesn't work and you have to counter, right? Can you counter? Can you freestyle? That's when you're really becoming a real basketball player. Some of us we learn the move and we do the move, but after that move doesn't work because you may run into a good defender here and there, right? Then you're breaking down, then you're picking up your dribble. It's like now you're stuck. You're trying to get rid of the ball or whatever because you don't know how to counter. So I would highly recommend before you start mimicking players and trying to master their moves and things like that, make sure that you have a solid foundation on your fundamentals. All right, let's keep listening.
Because a lot of guys, they say, that they want to, make it and play at the next level, but don't really understand what it takes. And then also too, I know that, back then, I think you were your height was listed at maybe 5'8", 5'9" or something like that. Okay. And so with basketball, they're looking for the height and things like that. But if you don't have that, you got to be special. But a lot of guys don't really understand what that looks like. So talk about the work ethic of Rashad Phillips. Take us through a day in the life with that.
Yeah, just, as a kid, I was obsessed with being great. I was obsessed with it. And
I think your daughter got that same obsession.
She's very obsessed.
I've been watching. Wow. I mean, the only reason why I say that is because I got a daughter, and she, and I'm taking her through the hoop thing too. But she got it. She got it. It's an obsession that you have, and I had that early on as a kid, and I just love the process of training to get better, to work myself for the moment. I've always prepared myself for the moment. And for me, the moment is when the lights turned on. So I've always prepared myself to play in the moment. And I developed that at an early age. Repetition was key, but not just the repetition. It was more the imagination. Okay. So having the imagination, the repetition, the repetition, imagination, and the obsession for the sport ultimately will lead to some success in that field. So that's kind of how it was for me. Ball handling drills, lots of shooting, long range shooting off the dribble, tons of free throws, finishes. I mean, I practiced everything until I got it right. Wow. So, I mean, and that's the key. Really, what I'm trying to, and my older son, he caught it a little bit later, but he finally understood that he was a good shooter. But
yeah,
when I was training them, I would just have them do the same stuff over and over again. Yeah. You know what I mean? And really, in essence, it really was about
it really was about having that repetition over and over again, because that's how you become great.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times the kids, they looking at it like that, like, why we keep
Why you making me do that? Why you making me do that? Yeah.
Right. But in essence, though, like, it's the repetition that's gonna, make it feel like second nature, and so stop right there. So now we're talking about basketball. I'm interviewing Rashad Phillips once again, who is a flat out dog, who did his thing back in the day. And now he interviewed a lot of NBA players. This guy, he is laying it out. So basically, what he's saying is that how he became so great is that, it was the repetition, right? If you don't have, repetition, having repetition is the key, and reason why I say that is because, like, a lot of players, they try to, learn new things, and they try to do this and they try to do that, but they haven't mastered what they know. And so what do you mean master it? That means do it over and over and over again, practically until you can do it with your eyes closed, right? So you can do it in your sleep. Once you're able to do that, then you can start adding more and more to your game. It don't make sense to keep adding to your game when you haven't mastered anything. So everything that you add to your game, try to master it. And how you master it is if you do it over and over and over again. I know when you go into the gym, it seems like, okay, I want to do something new. No, do it over and over again. That is what repetition is all about. Listen, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're doing it. We're reviewing past interviews, and we're pulling out major nuggets. And we're going to continue this, and we're just about done, but we're going to continue this just a little bit more right after. What's up, everybody? It's Sportsnet with your breaking news. Well, if you think you got game and you think you should be on the recruiting radar, this announcement is for you. On January 18th, Sound Mind Soundbody is hosting the Detroit Movement. Get exposure and get verified. On January the 18th, Monday, on Martin Luther King Day, at the Total Sports Complex in Wixom, Michigan. From grade level 6th through 8th grade for middle school, and high school 9th through 12th grade. You do not want to miss this. This is a great opportunity for you to get verified. Registration information is on the Sound Mind Soundbody Twitter page, so make sure that you go and follow. Also, Rising Stars Academy is also hosting some trainings this coming Friday and Sunday. Make sure you go to the Rising Stars Twitter page to get more information and to get registered. That's it for me with your latest news. Don't forget to tap in on next Thursday. We're taking a spin on things, and we're going to jump into the academic portion of recruiting. That's right. We're going to jump into the academic portion of recruiting, and I have a host of guests that's going to be coming on talking about the academics and how important it is to make sure that you align yourself up originally from the start to the finish in regards to your academics. You do not want to miss this, okay? Back to the live session. Yeah. So master what you know, okay? Master what you know. And it's all about having the repetition, right? Let's keep listening. So I thought that was huge. I always wanted to know, like, what your work ethic looked like, because it just seemed like he was doing something different, because I spent a lot of time in the gym too, but I wasn't at that level, man. Like, the ball handling skills, I want to know the secret to that, because, like, I want to know the secret. It's the secret to it, because if you watch your game and if you really break down your game, like, you know how to fit in those tight spaces. And you really don't see that nowadays, like today, but in those tight spaces, you get down real low, you know what I'm saying? And you got a real fast, slow pack to the basketball, you know what I'm saying? And stuff like that, you just don't see, and I could now understand what you're talking about when you say that, hey, I was following Isaiah Thomas, because Isaiah Thomas did a lot of that low dribble, fast pack, stuff like that. So imitation. Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let's talk about your attitude when it came down to competition, like your attitude when it came down to competition, because it's my understanding that you played in the Magic Round Ball Classic, and also, you was actually, there, and also a lot of other great players there too, such as late great Kobe Bryant. You know, and how was that experience? And what was your attitude, you know, in the midst of all of those talented people? Because I remember Winifred Walton too, you know, who I got introduced to when we played Persian. So, you know, it was crazy. So, but yeah, talk about that.
You know, for me, you know, playing in the Magic Round Ball Classic, I felt like I belonged, first of all. So I was never in awe of my surroundings. Again, like I said before, I trained myself for the big stage. It was the big stage.
Yeah.
I worked my entire life for that moment.
Right.
So when that moment presented itself, I was going to take advantage of my opportunity, and I did by winning the MVP. But again, the preparation of getting to that point, having an imagination. The same thing I do with my youngest daughter is I'm preparing her for the big stage. I'm preparing her for playing in front of 20,000 people and playing against the top players in the country, and knowing that you're one of the top players in the country and not being afraid or intimidated of the moment. And for me, I've lived it, and that's what I did that particular night, playing in front of all those people, in front of those special players, is that I felt I belong, I proved I belong, and I trained for that moment.
Wow. Wow, man, that's awesome. You know, and if the young players can just grasp that concept, you know, it takes them a long way. Talk about your recruiting. You know, how did it work for you? So he's saying he put himself in a position for the big moment, right? A lot of us say that we want the big moment, but when the big moment actually arrive, right? When it's time, then, you know, are we stepping up to the plate? Are we stepping up to the plate, or are we backing down from the moment? And that's the thing. So only way that you be confident in the moment is if you prepare yourself for that, right? When you're working and you notice he kept talking about imagination, having the imagination to see yourself somewhere, right? To be able to see yourself doing these things, to see yourself actually scoring 30 points, to see yourself playing in front of a ton of people. Because if you have the imagination to dream that, and, you know, then you can have the courage to actually live it out. And so, so having imagination, always putting yourself in that place, so that when you are in that place, it's not a surprise. That's deep. That's really deep. Having an imagination, right? See yourself in the big moment. Wow, that's dope. See yourself in the big moment, have that imagination, and have the imagination of you actually being in that moment. And so that when you do actually, when you do get there, when you do have that moment, then you will not be afraid. You will know what to do, and it will not be new or foreign to you, right? It'll be something that you can embrace. Why? Because you worked hard for that, and you imagine yourself in that moment. So now you're actually there. Now it's time to take advantage. And that's exactly what he did. If you know anything about that whole situation, the classic, the Magic Classic that he was invited to, Kobe Bryant was there, but Rashad Phillips ended up getting the MVP that game. And even Kobe Bryant himself was giving Rashad Phillips props as well, because he was special. And so, so you that are playing basketball, if you're not 6'7", you know, or if you're not over 6 feet, understand that you have to be special to be able to stand out, to make a college want you, and for you to possibly be able to play at another level. You have to be special. That's number one. And that's something that I can't tell you. That's something that your mom, your dad can't tell you. That's something that you have to know. And the only way that you know that is if you put yourself, you imagine yourself, you put in the work, you put in the repetition, and you give yourself an honest self-evaluation. A lot of you guys are running around here saying like, yeah, I'm a hooper, you know, but don't want to put in the work. You're not working on your body or anything like that. You're not an athlete. You know, you may be an athlete, but you're not a high caliber athlete, because of those high caliber athletes, they put in the work. They understand that it's not just it's going to take more than me just going to practice. It's going to take more than me just playing in the game. I have to put in work when no one else is looking. And that is the key. That is the key. And so that's what I have for you tonight. On next week, guys, make sure that you tap in, because what we're doing is that we're going to take a spin. I wish, one of the things that I wish, and I'm going to keep saying this up until we actually have these sessions, but I'm going to make a switch, and we're going to do some academics, and we're going to keep doing these interviews as well. In fact, I may have Ken Kareem back on. He was actually just texting me right before the show came on, and he said that we should do one, from going from college into the pros, because like I said, his son is in the pros. So with that being said, so what we're going to do on starting next week, I'm going to have a series of people that are going to come on. These people have earned their degrees, master degrees, just all types of degrees, right? And they're going to come on and they're going to talk about the college life, and they're going to drop some nuggets about it. And if you know anyone that's in college, you don't necessarily have to be an athlete for this one, but we're talking to athletes, but also too, if you know someone that's in college and that needs to be encouraged, or that's going to college, have them tap in to that, because they're going to be dropping some major nuggets, some good best practices that could make it easier on a person that's in college. Okay. And that's going to start next week, and we're going to go right in. We're going to be diving into that. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time out to jump in today. But remember, takeaways from those from those interviews that we just talked about, that we just tapped into. Make sure, yes, sir. Make sure that you think about that, because at the end of the day, if you want to be great, then just don't talk about it, but be about it. Imagine yourself in the moment. And when you imagine yourself in the moment, then when you actually get there, it won't be foreign to you. Why? Because you've been preparing yourself for that for up until now. And so now that you're there, take advantage of it, right? Parents, coaches, make sure you share your recruiting resources. If you got a kid, you got a kid that already got 10, 15 offers, and someone else don't have offers, and they should actually have offers, but the colleges may not just know about them or whatnot, put them on. Hey, there's a kid that's down the road. There's a kid at this particular high school I think you should take a look at, right? Do that. Especially the high school coaches. Make sure it's, like I said, it's someone got to step up and develop and say, hey, let's develop a brotherhood, right? And let's develop a brotherhood, and let's share our resources, so that, hey, if you're struggling with recruiting, then maybe I can reach out to my resources and send some your way, and vice versa. There's not enough networking amongst the high school coaches to be able to share resources so that we can get these kids offered, especially in a time like now where COVID has taken over and has changed the recruiting game. Now these kids are battling against the transfer portal as well. So now that's a totally, big deal now, the transfer portal. And then also, those students that were going to graduate, or that would have been leaving the program, they get an extra year of eligibility. So now it's stopping up the process, it's plugging the process, and it's creating wedges for recruiting. And so you got to make sure that you're doing what you can to put your child ahead of the game. So coaches, parents, please, let's share resources, even players. If you got colleges that really want you and things like that, there's nothing wrong with you, mentioning another player. If you send on 10, 15 offers, remember, share, because it's better to give than to receive. Trust me. And listen, that works. There is a basic principle in giving in general, guys. And, so at the end of the day, if you're sharing, that's why, people, when Christmas come around and, it's the season of sharing and things like that, people will be you feel good about yourself. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. And when you're doing that, you're actually sowing those seeds. And of course, it's going to come back to you, right? Because that's what you sowed, right? So at the end of the day, so that's what we're doing. Please make sure that you subscribe and share the information, especially to those. It may not apply to you, but we all got family members and friends that possibly could benefit from this information. All right. Until next time, I'm out of here. And make sure that you tune in on next week, because we're going to go on the escapade of talking about the academics. One thing I wish I would have done, you know, especially to the African-American community, I'm not racist by a long shot. Some of my friends, some of my best friends are white, but are of the other race. So let's not go there. But I would say this, especially for African-Americans, a lot of times we take a lot of time putting in effort into our children and training them physically, right? We want them to be the best athlete. We want them to stand out. But then we don't put that same amount of effort into their mental, right? And make them that mental athlete. And so one of the things that I wish I would have done is I wish I would have put that same effort that I was putting into my children physically for them to be able to stand out as athletes. I wish I would have put that same amount of effort into their mental as well, because then we're really setting them up for success. Because at the end of the day, the ball is going to stop dribbling, right? The football is going to stop being passed to you or handed off to you, or you're going to stop being, you know, you're not going to be able to play those sports for the rest of your life. But if you got this, and if you got that, and if that's, you know, operating at an optimal level, you'll always be ahead of the game. And so that's why we're going to take a huge step into the academics. And this we're going to start next week. And I got some really good caliber people that are going to be coming on. So make sure that you stay tapped in with us. And, you know, and that's how we're doing it. Remember, if you want to know anything about recruiting and what it's like on the inside, make sure that you stay tapped in with your boy. I'm out. There you have it, folks. Another great recruiting session in the books. Definitely there were some huge nuggets that were dropped, and hopefully you're walking away with something tangible. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when we post new information. And also, too, if you want to support the channel financially, be sure to send all donations to $SportsDad CEPH, and that's also on my YouTube platform as well. Make sure that you stay tapped in. And until next time, I'm out.